A native speaker says one simple sentence. You know every word, but your mind still freezes. Why? Because your brain is trying to translate English after the speaker has already moved on. Now answer this honestly. When fast English begins, do you understand the meaning, or do you start chasing words? That one habit may be the reason English still sounds impossible. Fluent listeners are not translating faster. They are understanding without translation. This audiobook will train the silent decoder inside your brain, the hidden system that turns sound directly into meaning. Once it wakes up, English will stop feeling like noise. It will begin to enter your mind naturally. Fast English swallows half the sentence. When English is spoken quickly, many learners feel that half the sentence has disappeared. The words are written clearly on the page, but when a native speaker says them, they do not sound separate anymore. The sounds connect. Some words become shorter, some sounds become weak, others almost vanish. For example, "What are you doing?" may not sound like 4 clear words. It may sound more like one smooth sound. This is normal spoken English. The problem is not that you do not know the words. The problem is that your ear is expecting written English instead of real spoken English. Do not try to hear every word perfectly. Listen for the strongest sounds, the rhythm, and the main idea. Play one short sentence several times. First, listen without reading, then check the text. After that, listen again and notice how the words join together. Repeat the sentence aloud in the same rhythm. This helps your brain connect the written form with the real sound. Fast English becomes easier when you stop expecting every word to sound complete. Native speakers do not always speak word by word. They speak in connected sound groups. Your goal is not to catch every sound. Your goal is to recognize the message hiding inside the flow. Your brain must understand before it hears. Good listeners do not wait for every word before they begin understanding. Their brains are always predicting what the speaker may say next. This prediction happens so quickly that they often do not notice it. For example, when someone says, "I am hungry, so I am going to make some," your brain may already expect words like food, dinner, or lunch. You have not heard the final word yet, but the situation has prepared your mind. This is one of the secrets of understanding fast English. Many learners listen with an empty mind. They wait for every sound, translate every word, and then try to build the meaning. This process is too slow for natural conversation. Instead, prepare your brain before you listen. Think about the topic. Imagine the situation. Ask yourself what words and ideas may appear. When you know someone is talking about travel, your brain can expect words such as airport, ticket, hotel, flight, and luggage. You do not need to predict every word correctly. You only need to give your brain a direction. Context helps your brain fill small gaps. Even when you miss a sound, you can still understand the sentence because your mind already knows what kind of meaning should come next. This does not mean guessing without listening. It means using the topic, the situation, and the speaker's tone to understand faster. The strongest listeners do not only hear English, they stay one step ahead of it. The word you missed was never the key. Many English learners believe they must understand every word to understand a sentence. The moment they miss one word, they stop listening. Their mind goes backward. They ask, "What was that word? What did it mean? Did I hear it correctly?" While they are thinking about that one word, the speaker continues talking. A small gap becomes a complete loss of meaning. This is one of the biggest reasons fast English feels difficult. Imagine someone says, "I missed the bus this morning, so I had to walk to work." Even if you do not hear the word bus clearly, you may still hear morning, walk, and work. These words give you enough information to understand that the person had a transportation problem and walked instead. The missing word was helpful, but it was not the key. The key was the complete message. In real conversation, even native speakers sometimes miss a word. They may not hear clearly because of noise, speed, or an unfamiliar accent. But they do not panic. They use the rest of the sentence to understand what probably happened. You must learn to do the same. When you miss a word, do not fight with it. Do not mentally leave the conversation to search for its meaning. Stay with the speaker and listen for what comes next. Focus on the most important words. Listen for the person, the action, the place, the emotion, and the result. These clues often carry the real meaning. You can also use the speaker's voice. A happy tone, a worried tone, or an angry tone can tell you something important, even when some words are unclear. Your goal is not perfect hearing. Your goal is successful understanding. Let one unknown word pass. The next sentence may explain it. The speaker may repeat the idea in a different way. The situation may make the meaning clear. Fast English becomes easier when you stop trying to catch everything. Do not allow one missing word to steal the entire conversation. Keep listening. The meaning is usually waiting a few words ahead. Native speech hides meaning inside patterns. Many learners believe that native speakers build every sentence one word at a time. They imagine that a speaker first chooses one word, then another word, and then another. But natural speech does not usually work like that. Native speakers often use complete groups of words that have been repeated thousands of times. They do not always think about each word separately. They think in patterns. For example, how are you doing? At the end of the day, I do not know what you mean. Let me think about it. These expressions are made of several words, but native speakers often hear and use them as one complete unit. This is why natural English can sound so fast. The speaker is not carefully building every sentence from the beginning. The speaker is pulling familiar patterns from memory and saying them smoothly. A learner may hear 5 separate words. A native speaker may hear one familiar message. This difference is very important. When you try to understand every word separately, your brain has too much work to do. First, you hear the sound. Then you try to find the word. Then you remember the meaning. Then you connect that meaning to the next word. By the time you finish this process, the speaker has already moved forward. But when your brain recognizes a complete phrase, understanding becomes much faster. Imagine hearing the phrase, "What do you want to do?" A beginner may try to catch every word. What do you want to do? But a trained listener hears the full sound pattern and immediately understands the question. There is no need to translate each part. The whole phrase enters the mind as one meaning. This is how your silent decoder becomes faster. It begins storing English in chunks instead of isolated words. A chunk is a group of words that often appear together. For example, I have no idea. Are you sure? What happened next? It depends on the situation. I will call you later. These phrases are useful because they appear again and again in real conversations. When you learn them as complete sound patterns, you no longer need to decode each word every time. You simply recognize them. This is similar to recognizing a familiar face. When you see someone you know, you do not study the eyes, nose, mouth, and hair separately before deciding who the person is. You recognize the complete face instantly. Your brain should learn to recognize spoken English in the same way. Do not only collect vocabulary. Collect complete phrases. Do not only ask, "What does this word mean?" Also ask, what words usually come with it? For example, do not only learn the word decision. Learn, make a decision. A difficult decision, the right decision. I have not decided yet. Now your brain is not storing one lonely word, it is storing several useful patterns that can appear in real speech. This also helps you speak more naturally. When you learn English one word at a time, you may understand many words but still struggle to form sentences. You know the vocabulary, but you do not know how the pieces fit together. Patterns solve this problem. They show you how English naturally moves. They teach you which words belong together. They give your brain ready-made paths. The best way to train this skill is to use short audio. Choose a conversation that is easy enough to understand. Listen to one sentence. Do not immediately study every word. First, notice which sounds seem to stay together. Then read the sentence and divide it into meaningful groups. For example, I was going to call you, but I got busy and completely forgot. Now listen again. Try to hear 3 sound groups instead of many separate words. Repeat each group aloud. Then repeat the full sentence without stopping between every word. This teaches your ear to follow the natural movement of English. It also teaches your mouth to produce the same rhythm. Rhythm matters because native speech does not give equal strength to every word. Important words are often clearer and stronger. Small grammar words may become weak or shortened. For example, in the sentence, I want to go to the store, the words want, go, and store may sound stronger. The smaller words may connect quickly. If you expect every word to sound equally clear, you may feel that parts of the sentence are missing, but they are not always missing. They are simply hiding inside the rhythm. This is why listening only to slow, perfect English is not enough. Slow English can help you learn, but real conversation contains connected sounds, weak words, shortened forms, and familiar patterns. Your ear must gradually become comfortable with this. Start with simple material. Do not choose audio that is so difficult that every sentence feels impossible. Choose something where you understand most of the topic. Listen many times. The first time, focus on the general meaning. The second time, notice the repeated phrases. The third time, speak with the audio. The fourth time, listen without reading and see whether the patterns now feel familiar. Repetition is not a waste of time. Every repetition makes the pattern stronger. At first, a phrase may sound like noise. After several listens, you begin to hear separate sounds. Later, you recognize the words. Finally, the complete meaning appears instantly. That final stage is the goal. You no longer hear a puzzle. You hear a message. Do not worry if this takes time. Your first language became automatic because you heard the same patterns again and again for years. English can also become automatic, but only when you stop treating every sentence like a new problem. The more patterns you collect, the less surprising English becomes. You begin to know what sounds usually come next. You recognize common questions before they finish. You understand familiar expressions even when they are spoken quickly. You stop translating because the entire phrase already carries meaning. This is the hidden structure of native speech. Meaning is not always sitting inside one perfect word. Sometimes it is spread across a complete sound pattern. Train yourself to hear the pattern, not only the pieces. One word can confuse you. A complete pattern can guide you. And when your brain begins recognizing these patterns automatically, fast English will stop sounding like a wall of noise. It will begin sounding like something familiar. Build the decoder that never speaks. Inside your mind, there are two different ways to understand English. The first way is slow and noisy. You hear a sentence. You repeat it inside your head. You translate it into your first language. Then you try to understand what the speaker meant. This process may work when someone speaks slowly, but it becomes too heavy when English moves quickly. The second way is silent. You hear the sound and the meaning appears. No translation. No inner explanation. No long pause. This silent system is the decoder you need to build. It is called silent because it does not need to speak inside your mind before it understands. It does not ask, what does this word mean in my language? It does not stop after every sentence. It does not need permission from translation. It connects sound directly to meaning. You already use this system in your first language. When someone says, close the door, you do not carefully study each word. You do not translate the sentence. You immediately understand the action. When someone says your name, your attention moves before you think about the sound. When you hear a warning, your body may react before your mind explains what happened. That is direct understanding. English must slowly become direct in the same way. Many learners believe they need more grammar before they can understand fast speech. Grammar is useful. Vocabulary is useful, but neither one is enough by itself. A learner may know thousands of words and still feel lost during a real conversation. Why? Because knowing a word on paper is different from recognizing it inside fast speech. You may know the word yesterday. You may know the word meeting. You may know the word canceled, but when someone quickly says, yesterday's meeting was canceled, your mind may not recognize the complete sound. The problem is not always missing knowledge. The problem is that the knowledge is not automatic yet. Your silent decoder is built when familiar sounds begin producing familiar meanings without effort. This does not happen through one long study session. It happens through repeated contact with understandable English. Imagine walking through a field. The first time you cross it, there is no path. You move slowly. You step around rocks. You look carefully at the ground. But if you walk through the same place every day, a path begins to appear. Each step makes the road clearer. After enough repetition, you can follow it without thinking. Your brain works in a similar way. Every time you hear an English phrase and understand it directly, you strengthen a path. Every time you translate first, you strengthen the old path of translation. This is why your daily method matters. You are always training one system or the other. You are either teaching your brain to move directly toward meaning or teaching it to wait for translation. At the beginning, translation may feel safer. It gives you a sense of control. You hear a sentence, turn it into familiar words, and then understand it. But this safety has a price. It keeps your brain dependent. It is like using a walking stick long after your leg has become strong enough to walk alone. The support begins to slow you down. To build the silent decoder, you must gently reduce that dependence. Do not force yourself to understand difficult speech speeches without help. That will only create frustration. Start with English that is simple, clear, and close to your current level. Choose a short recording, perhaps 20 or 30 seconds. Listen once without reading anything. Do not try to catch every word. Ask one simple question. What is happening? Maybe someone is asking for help. Maybe someone is describing a problem. Maybe someone is telling a short story. Your first task is to understand the situation, not the grammar. Then listen again. This time, notice the strongest words. You may hear words like late, train, office, and manager. Even if you miss the smaller words, these important sounds can help you see the message. Perhaps the speaker was late because the train stopped, and now the manager is upset. Your silent decoder begins working when you connect these sounds to a situation. Next, read the sentence. Check what you heard correctly. Notice what you missed. Do not become angry with yourself. The missed words are not proof that you are bad at English. They are simply sounds your ear has not learned yet. Listen again while reading. Then remove the text and listen one more time. Now the sentence may sound slower even though the recording has not changed. This is an important moment. The speaker did not slow down. Your brain became faster. The sound is no longer completely new. Your decoder has begun to recognize its shape. Now repeat the sentence aloud. Do not repeat it like a robot reading separate words. Copy the speaker's rhythm. Notice where the voice becomes stronger. Notice where the words join. Notice where the speaker pauses. You are not only practicing pronunciation, you are teaching your brain how the sentence is built in real time. When your mouth can follow the pattern, your ear often begins recognizing it more easily. This is why speaking and listening can support each other. Your silent decoder also needs pictures. When you hear English, try to create a simple scene in your mind. If you hear "she left her keys on the kitchen table," do not translate each word. See a woman leaving the room. See the keys. See the kitchen table. The image carries the meaning. Your first language does not need to enter. If the sentence describes an emotion, feel the emotion. If someone says, "I was so relieved when I found my wallet," imagine the fear of losing it and the relief of finding it. Meaning is not only words. Meaning can be an image, a feeling, an action, a memory, or a situation. The more directly you connect English to these things, the stronger your decoder becomes. You can also train with actions. When you hear "stand up," stand up. When you hear "open the window," imagine or perform the action. When you hear "put the book on the table," see the movement. This is powerful because your brain connects the English sound with a real experience. You are not memorizing a translation. You are building a direct link. Children learn language this way. They hear words while watching life happen around them. They do not begin with grammar explanations. They connect sounds to faces, objects, movements, needs, and emotions. An adult learner can also use this natural ability. You do not need to become a child again. You simply need to stop making translation the center of every listening activity. Another important part of the silent decoder is tolerance. You must become comfortable with partial understanding. Many learners destroy their listening ability because they demand complete understanding too early. They hear one unclear phrase and feel nervous. Then they begin translating harder. Their attention becomes tight. Their mind becomes tired. Soon they understand even less. Your decoder grows in a relaxed mind. When you miss something, stay calm. Tell yourself, "I may understand it from what comes next." Continue listening. The next sentence may explain the first. The speaker's tone may reveal the emotion. The situation may make the missing phrase unimportant. A relaxed listener notices more than a frightened listener. Do not turn every conversation into an examination. Treat listening like entering a room. At first, the room may be dark. You cannot see every object, but after a few moments, your eyes adjust. You begin seeing shapes. Then details appear. English listening often works the same way. Give your brain time to adjust. Do not judge yourself after the first second. The silent decoder also becomes stronger through prediction. Before listening, think about what the speaker may say. If the topic is ordering food, expect words connected to menus, prices, drinks, and meals. If the topic is a job interview, expect questions about experience, skills, strengths, and goals. Prediction prepares your brain. It gives the decoder a smaller area to search. Imagine looking for one book in a huge library with no information. It may take a long time, but if you know the book is in the language section, your search becomes easier. Context does the same thing for listening. It guides your decoder. You should also collect useful sound patterns. Do not only learn single words. Learn complete groups such as I am not sure. What do you mean? I was about to say that. It does not make sense. Let me think about it. These phrases appear often. When your decoder stores them as complete units, you can understand them instantly. You no longer need to process each word separately. This is one reason repeated listening is so powerful. The first time you hear a phrase, it may feel unfamiliar. The second time, you recognize part of it. The third time, the shape becomes clearer. After enough repetition, the phrase feels like one sound with one meaning. That is exactly what automatic understanding looks like. Some learners avoid repeating the same audio because they think they must always study new material, but new material keeps the brain busy surviving. Repeated material gives the brain time to build speed. Both are useful, but if your goal is automatic listening, repetition is necessary. You do not become fast by always meeting something new. You become fast by making important patterns deeply familiar. Think about a musician. A musician does not practice a song only once. The fingers repeat the same movement until it becomes natural. Think about a driver. At first, every action requires attention. Mirrors, pedals, steering, traffic. After practice, many actions become automatic. The driver does not become less intelligent. The brain simply moves repeated tasks into a faster system. Your English listening can change in the same way. At first, you may need to focus hard on every sound. Later, common phrases begin running automatically. Your mind becomes free to focus on the speaker's ideas instead of fighting with each word. That is the purpose of the silent decoder. It takes the basic work away from your conscious mind. It handles familiar sounds quietly in the background, but you must feed it the right material. Do not spend all your time listening to English that is far above your level. Difficult material can sometimes challenge you, but it should not be your main training. If nearly every sentence is unknown, your decoder has nothing stable to hold. Choose material where you understand the main idea. The audio should be slightly difficult, not completely impossible. You need enough challenge to grow and enough understanding to stay connected. Short conversations are excellent. Simple stories are excellent. Clear interviews are excellent. Audiobooks designed for learners can also help because the ideas are easier to follow. The goal is not to impress yourself with difficult content. The goal is to create successful moments of direct understanding. Each successful moment teaches your brain English can make sense without translation. This belief matters. Many learners carry a hidden fear that they can never understand English directly. They believe translation is part of their identity. They say, "My brain always translates." But your brain is not fixed. It follows the habits you repeat. If you practice translation every day, translation becomes automatic. If you practice direct meaning every day, direct meaning can also become automatic. The change may be slow at first. You may still translate many sentences. Do not treat that as failure. Simply notice it. When you catch yourself translating, return to the image, action, feeling, or situation. You do not need to fight your first language. You only need to stop inviting it into every sentence. Over time, translation will begin arriving later. Then it may appear only when the sentence is difficult. Eventually, familiar English will pass directly into meaning. You may understand a joke before finding the words in your own language. You may answer a question before mentally preparing the translation. You may watch a short scene and forget that the people were speaking English. These moments are signs that the decoder is waking up. Protect those moments. Do not immediately test yourself by translating everything afterward. Allow direct understanding to be enough. If you understood the message, the task was successful. You do not need to prove it by changing the message into another language. One simple daily routine can build this system. Choose one short piece of audio. Listen for the main idea. Listen again for the important words. Read the text. Notice the sound patterns. Listen again without the text. Repeat the strongest phrases aloud. Then close your eyes and describe the scene in your mind without translating. This may take only 15 or 20 minutes, but when done consistently, it changes how your brain handles spoken English. The secret is not studying for many hours one day and then stopping for a week. The secret is regular contact. Your decoder needs frequent signals. A little English every day is often more powerful than a huge amount once in a while. Consistency keeps the path open. You can also use English during ordinary moments. When you see rain, think, "It is raining." When you feel tired, think, "I need some rest." When you enter a shop, notice the objects in English. Do not create long, perfect sentences. Use simple, direct thoughts. This trains your brain to connect life with English. The language stops living only inside books. It begins entering your real world. That makes the silent decoder stronger because the meanings become personal. A phrase connected to your own experience is easier to remember than a phrase learned only for a test. Be patient with the quiet stage. Sometimes your brain is learning even when you do not feel improvement. You may listen for several weeks and believe nothing is changing. Then one day, a sentence that once sounded impossible suddenly feels clear. The improvement seems sudden, but it was built slowly. Every repetition was preparing that moment. Every familiar pattern was becoming stronger. Every time you refused to panic, you gave your decoder more space to work. Do not measure progress only by perfect understanding. Notice smaller signs. You recover more quickly after missing a word. You recognize connected sounds. You predict common phrases. You understand the topic sooner. You need the transcript less often. You answer simple questions without translating. These are real signs of growth. Your silent decoder does not become powerful through pressure. It becomes powerful through clear input, repetition, context, patience, and trust. You are not trying to silence your intelligence. You are training a faster form of intelligence, the kind that hears and understands in one movement, the kind that does not explain every step, the kind that works quietly while you stay connected to the speaker. That is what fluent listening feels like. Not a mind shouting translations, not a mind chasing every word, not a mind becoming afraid when a sound disappears. It is a calm mind receiving meaning. A phrase enters, a picture appears, an emotion becomes clear, a response begins. And all of it happens without your first language standing in the middle. Build that system slowly. Feed it real English. Give it useful patterns. Let it hear the same sounds more than once. Connect those sounds to life. Stay calm when something is unclear. Trust the message more than the individual word. One day you will notice that your mind has become quieter. The speaker will continue talking, but the old translation voice will not interrupt. Meaning will arrive first, and that quiet arrival will be proof that the decoder you built is finally working. The day English enters without translation. There will come a day when English will enter your mind differently. You will hear a sentence and the meaning will appear before you can search for it. You will not stop to translate. You will not repeat every word inside your head. You will not ask yourself whether you understood correctly. The message will simply arrive. At first, this moment may feel strange. You may hear someone ask a question and answer immediately. A few seconds later, you may suddenly realize something surprising. You answered in English without using your first language. You did not plan it. You did not force it. It happened naturally. This is the day many learners are waiting for, but it does not arrive because of luck. It arrives because your brain has heard enough English, recognized enough patterns, and connected enough sounds directly to meaning. The change usually begins quietly. You may not wake up one morning and suddenly understand every English speaker perfectly. You may still miss words. You may still struggle with unfamiliar accents. Some conversations may still feel difficult, but something important will have changed. English will no longer feel like a code that must always be converted. It will begin to feel like a language you can receive directly. Think about what happens when you hear a simple sentence in your first language. Someone says the door is open. You do not examine the grammar. You do not search for the meaning of door. You do not translate open into another language. You may immediately look toward the door. The sound creates meaning, and the meaning creates a response. Everything happens as one movement. That is what direct English understanding begins to feel like. The sound and the meaning become connected so closely that translation is no longer needed. At the beginning of your English journey, the connection may look like this: English sound, English word, translation, meaning, response. There are too many steps. Natural speech does not wait for you to complete them. By the time you finish translating one part, the speaker has already said something new. But after consistent training, the process changes. English sound, meaning, response. This is faster because the unnecessary step has disappeared. You are not removing your first language from your mind. You are building a second direct road beside it. Your first language will always remain valuable. It is connected to your memories, your family, your culture, and your deepest experiences. The goal is not to destroy that language. The goal is to stop depending on it every time English enters your ears. Imagine two cities connected by a road. At first, the direct road is weak and difficult to use. You must travel through another city before reaching your destination. The journey takes longer, but every day workers improve the direct road. They remove obstacles. They strengthen the surface. They build bridges. Eventually, the direct road becomes faster and easier. Translation is the longer road. Direct understanding is the new road you are building. Every time you listen to understandable English without translating, you strengthen it. Every time you connect a phrase to an image, action, feeling, or situation, you make it clearer. Every time you recognize a complete sound pattern, you make the journey faster. One day, your brain will choose that direct road automatically. You will not need to command it. You will not need to say, "Do not translate." Meaning will arrive before translation has time to begin. This is not magic. It is training becoming automatic. Many learners misunderstand this process because they expect a dramatic transformation. They think direct understanding means never feeling confused again. They imagine that fluent listeners hear every sound perfectly and know every word. That is not true. Even native speakers misunderstand each other sometimes. They ask people to repeat themselves. They miss words in noisy rooms. They struggle with unfamiliar accents or technical topics. Direct understanding does not mean perfect understanding. It means that your brain can receive the main message without translating every part. You may hear a sentence and understand the idea even when one word is unclear. You may follow a story without knowing every expression. You may understand the emotion before you understand the exact vocabulary. That is still real understanding. In fact, it is often how communication works. Meaning does not live only inside individual words. It also lives inside the situation. It lives inside the speaker's tone. It lives inside facial expressions. It lives inside what happened before and what happens next. Your silent decoder learns to use all of these clues together. Suppose someone enters a room holding an empty cup and asks, "Do you know where I can get some water?" You do not need to study every word. The empty cup, the word water, and the situation create one clear message. The person wants something to drink. Your brain understands the whole situation. This is why real listening is not only a vocabulary test. It is a meaning-building process. When English begins entering without translation, you stop treating every sentence like an examination question. You begin experiencing it. A story creates pictures in your mind. A joke creates laughter. A sad sentence creates emotion. An instruction creates action. A question creates a response. The language begins touching life directly. This is an important sign of progress. When you listen to a story and see the scene instead of seeing written words, English is becoming direct. When you hear someone describe a difficult day and feel their frustration, English is becoming direct. When you hear a warning and react before analyzing the grammar, English is becoming direct. When you understand the main idea but cannot easily translate every sentence, English is becoming direct. That last sign can confuse learners. Sometimes you may understand an English sentence clearly but find it difficult to explain the exact meaning in your first language. You may think this means you did not truly understand, but it may mean the opposite. It may mean the message entered directly as an idea instead of passing through translation. For example, you may understand a common phrase because you have heard it many times in real situations. You know when people use it. You know the feeling behind it. You know how to respond. But when someone asks you to translate it word for word, you may pause. That does not always show weakness. It may show that the phrase has become its own meaning inside your mind. Languages do not always match perfectly. A phrase in English may carry a feeling or purpose that cannot be translated with one exact phrase in another language. Direct understanding allows you to receive that meaning without forcing it into a different form. This is one reason translation can sometimes create confusion. You may find a translation that is technically correct but does not fit the situation. The words may match, but the feeling is wrong. Direct listening teaches you how English is actually used. It teaches you that "I am fine" can mean different things depending on the voice. A person may say it happily. A person may say it while hiding pain. A person may say it because they do not want to continue the conversation. The dictionary meaning stays the same, but the real message changes. Your silent decoder notices these differences. It listens beyond vocabulary. It hears speed, stress, pauses, emotion, and intention. As this ability grows, English begins to feel less mechanical. You stop hearing a collection of words. You begin hearing a person. That is one of the greatest changes in listening. In the beginning, you may focus so hard on the language that you forget the human being speaking it. You hear grammar. You hear vocabulary. You hear mistakes you think you made. but you miss the speaker's real purpose. Later, when the basic language becomes more automatic, your attention becomes free. You can notice whether the person is excited, uncertain, tired, serious, or joking. You can follow the idea instead of chasing the words. The conversation starts feeling natural because you are no longer standing outside the language and studying it. You are inside the moment. This is the real goal. English should not remain something that only exists in lessons, textbooks, and exercises. It should become something you can use while life is moving. You should be able to understand someone while walking, working, traveling, cooking, or speaking with friends. You should not need perfect silence and complete concentration for every sentence. Automatic listening gives you that freedom. But before this freedom arrives, many learners pass through a difficult middle stage. You may understand slow English well but struggle with natural speech. You may recognize words when reading but miss them when listening. You may understand a sentence after hearing it 3 times but not the first time. This stage can feel frustrating because you know more English than your listening ability seems to show. Do not give up during this stage. Your knowledge is not useless. Your brain is learning to access that knowledge at a faster speed. You are moving from conscious knowledge to automatic recognition. These are not the same thing. You may consciously know that a certain phrase means something, but if your brain needs 5 seconds to remember it, that knowledge cannot help during fast conversation. Automatic knowledge appears immediately. This speed comes through repetition. The first time you hear a phrase, your brain may work hard. The second time, it becomes slightly more familiar. After hearing it in many situations, you no longer need to search. The sound itself opens the meaning. Think about your own name. You do not need to decide whether you heard it. Even in a noisy place, your attention may move toward it immediately. The sound is deeply familiar. Your brain recognizes it before you consciously analyze it. Common English patterns can become familiar in the same way. Not every word will become as powerful as your name, but many phrases can become automatic enough that they require almost no effort. You hear, "What do you mean?" and understand immediately. You hear, "I will be there in a minute," and see the situation. You hear, "It is up to you," and recognize that someone is giving you a choice. You hear, "I did not see that coming," and understand that something was unexpected. These patterns do not need to be rebuilt every time. Your brain stores them as complete units. The more units you collect, the easier English becomes. A beginner may need to build meaning from 10 separate words. A trained listener may recognize 2 or 3 complete patterns. This reduces the amount of work. Imagine carrying bricks one by one to build a wall. It takes time. Now imagine carrying large prepared sections. The wall rises much faster. Patterns are prepared sections of language. They help your brain build meaning at the speed of real speech. This is why you should not only ask, "How many English words do I know?" A better question is, "How many English patterns can I recognize instantly?" You may know the meanings of all the words inside a phrase but still fail to understand the phrase when it is spoken quickly. The solution is not always more vocabulary. Sometimes you need more listening contact with the complete pattern. Your ear must learn its real sound. Your brain must learn its purpose. Your memory must learn where it usually appears. Then the phrase becomes alive. The day English enters without translation is not created by memorizing long word lists alone. It is created by hearing useful language repeatedly in meaningful situations. This does not mean vocabulary study is useless. Vocabulary gives you material, but listening practice teaches your brain how to recognize that material while it is moving. A word on a page is still. A word in conversation is surrounded by other sounds. It may be shortened. It may connect to the next word. It may receive less stress. It may sound different because of the speaker's accent. Your ear needs practice with this moving form of language. Suppose you know the phrase "going to." On a page, it looks clear. In careful speech, it may sound clear. But in fast conversation, it may become much shorter. If your ear is waiting for the full written form, you may believe the speaker used a different expression. Repeated listening teaches you that spoken language often changes shape without changing meaning. After enough exposure, your brain stops being surprised. You recognize the pattern even when some sounds are weak. This is another sign that English is becoming automatic. You stop demanding perfect pronunciation from every speaker. You become flexible. You learn that different people may say the same phrase in slightly different ways. Some speak quickly, some speak softly, some use strong accents, some pause often. Some connect almost everything. At first, these differences may make you feel that you are listening to many different versions of English. Later, your decoder begins seeing what stays the same beneath those differences. The surface sound changes, but the pattern and the meaning remain familiar. This skill takes time because your brain needs examples. One clear recording is not enough to prepare you for every speaker. You need variety, but variety should come gradually. First, build confidence with clear and understandable audio. Then listen to different voices. Listen to men and women. Listen to younger and older speakers. Listen to careful speech and natural conversation. Listen to familiar topics before moving to unfamiliar ones. Each new voice teaches your decoder that English can change its sound while keeping its meaning. Do not jump immediately into the most difficult material. If you understand almost nothing, your brain cannot build strong connections. You may hear only noise. Choose material that allows you to follow the main idea. Understanding should be possible even when it requires some effort. This creates the right balance. Too easy and you may not grow. Too difficult and you may become lost. The best material keeps you connected while still giving your ear something new to learn. You should also understand that direct listening does not grow at the same speed every day. Some days English may feel clear. You listen and feel proud. The next day a different recording may feel extremely difficult. You may think your ability has disappeared. It has not disappeared. The topic may be unfamiliar. The speaker may have a different accent. The vocabulary may be more advanced. The recording may contain background noise. Your energy may also be lower. Listening ability is affected by many things. Do not measure your entire progress through one difficult moment. Look at the larger pattern. Can you understand material today that felt impossible several months ago? Can you follow longer conversations? Can you recover after missing a word? Can you recognize phrases more quickly? Can you listen without translating for a few seconds, then a few sentences, then a full minute? These changes matter. Direct understanding often grows in small sections. At first, one familiar phrase enters without translation, then a short sentence, then part of a conversation. You may still translate difficult sections, but familiar language begins moving directly. Over time, the direct sections become longer. Translation becomes less frequent. Eventually, translation may only appear when you meet a new word or complex idea. This is normal. Do not wait for translation to disappear completely before recognizing your progress. Celebrate every moment of direct understanding. Those moments show that the new road is working. One mistake learners make is checking themselves too aggressively. They hear a sentence and understand it, but immediately ask, "What did every word mean?" Then they force themselves to translate the sentence to prove that they understood. This can pull the mind back into the old habit. Sometimes checking is useful, especially during study. But during natural listening, allow meaning to be enough. If someone says, "Could you move your bag? I need to sit there," and you move the bag correctly, you understood. You do not need to translate every word afterward. The successful response is proof. Language exists to create understanding and action, not only to produce perfect translations. Ask yourself a simple question after listening. Did I understand what the speaker wanted me to know? This is often more useful than asking whether you heard every word. A conversation can be successful even when some details are missed. You do this in your first language too. You may listen to someone while feeling tired or distracted. You may not remember every sentence, but you understand the main point. You do not call yourself a failure. Give yourself the same freedom in English. Fluent listening is not a perfect recording machine. It is the ability to receive enough meaning to stay connected. The day English begins entering directly, your confidence also changes. Before, you may have been afraid of speed. The moment someone spoke naturally, your body became tense. Your mind expected failure. This fear made listening even harder. A tense brain has less space for meaning. It becomes busy protecting itself. It hears one unknown sound and sends a message. You cannot understand this. Then panic begins. But after many successful listening experiences, your brain learns something new. It learns that missing one word is not dangerous. It learns that context can help. It learns that a difficult beginning may become clearer later. It learns that you can stay calm and continue. Confidence is not pretending that everything is easy. Confidence is knowing that you can remain present even when something is difficult. This calmness improves listening. You stop attacking every unclear sound. You allow the sentence to continue. in you. You wait for more information. You trust that meaning may appear from the whole message. This trust gives your silent decoder time to work. Imagine trying to complete a picture puzzle while someone keeps removing the pieces from your hands. That is what panic does. It interrupts the natural process of building meaning. Calmness lets the pieces stay long enough for the picture to appear. You can train this calmness deliberately. Choose short audio and promise yourself that you will not pause during the first listen. Even if you miss something, continue until the end. Afterward, explain the main idea in simple English or picture the situation, then listen again. This teaches you not to collapse after one unclear moment. You learn to stay with the message. Another useful practice is listening while doing a simple activity. After studying a short recording carefully, play it again while walking or organizing your room. Do not force your attention. Let the familiar English enter naturally. Because you already know the topic, your brain can strengthen the connection without heavy effort. This helps listening become more automatic. However, do not use background listening as your only method. Audio playing around you is not always enough. Your brain also needs focused practice. Think of focused listening as building the road and relaxed listening as traveling on it. You need both. During focused practice, notice sounds, patterns, and meaning. During relaxed practice, allow the language to flow. The combination builds strength and ease. You can also practice direct understanding through simple self-talk. Look around and describe what you see in easy English. The window is open. My phone is on the table. I need to finish this work. I am feeling tired. Do not translate these sentences first. Connect them directly to the situation. When the words describe your real life, the meaning is already present. You are simply attaching English to it. This builds direct connections from the other direction. Listening attaches sound to meaning. Self-talk attaches meaning to English expression. Together, they help English become part of your inner world. At first, your self-talk may feel slow. That is fine. Use simple words. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are teaching your brain that English can be connected to daily experience. Over time, these small thoughts become easier. You may begin thinking in English without planning to. You see rain and the sentence "it is raining" appears. You remember a task and think, I need to do that later. You hear a noise and ask yourself, what was that? These moments are not small. They show that English is beginning to operate directly. The same thing will happen in listening. A speaker says something and your mind reacts in English or through pure meaning. No translation is needed. Sometimes the response will not even be words. It may be an image. It may be a feeling. It may be a decision. This is important because understanding does not always look like a sentence inside your mind. Suppose someone tells you, the road ahead is closed, so you will need to turn left. You may immediately picture the road and prepare to turn. That picture is understanding. You do not need to repeat the complete sentence internally. Your brain received the message and created the correct response. Direct understanding often feels quieter than translation. Translation is noisy because it produces extra words. Direct understanding may feel like nothing happened. The meaning is simply there. This can make learners doubt themselves. They think, I did not translate, so maybe I did not understand. But if you can follow the situation, answer the question, or remember the idea, you understood. Learn to trust this quiet form of knowledge. Your silent decoder works best when you stop demanding that it explain every step. Think about recognizing a close friend. You do not explain why the face belongs to that person. You just know. English patterns can become familiar in a similar way. The meaning may appear without a long explanation. This is not laziness. It is efficiency. The brain is saving effort by using a strong connection. Automaticity is one of the main goals of language learning. A beginner uses a lot of conscious attention for simple tasks. An experienced listener uses less attention for those same tasks and can focus on deeper meaning. This is why fluent people can listen and plan their response at the same time. They are not manually decoding every word. Much of the basic work happens automatically. Their conscious mind can focus on ideas, emotions, and decisions. You can build this ability step by step. First, common words become automatic, then common phrases, then familiar sentence patterns, then familiar topics. Each layer makes more space for the next. Do not rush the process. A strong building is not created by placing the roof before the foundation. Simple listening is not beneath you. It is where speed is built. Many learners choose advanced material because they want to feel serious, but if basic patterns are not automatic, advanced content becomes overwhelming. Return to simple English without shame. Listen until simple language feels completely natural. Automatic basics will support difficult listening later. Imagine trying to run while still thinking about how to move each foot. Running becomes possible when basic movement is automatic. Fast listening works the same way. You cannot understand complex speech comfortably if common structures still require heavy thought. Mastering the simple does not slow your progress. It creates speed. The day English enters without translation may first appear during something very easy. You may hear a simple question and answer instantly. Do not dismiss that moment because the sentence was basic. That basic response is evidence that the system is changing. Protect it. Build on it. Choose slightly more difficult material, but keep enough familiar language to stay confident. Gradual growth is stronger than constant struggle. You should also remember that direct understanding is closely connected to expectation. Your brain understands familiar situations faster because it knows what kind of message may appear. When you enter a restaurant, you expect questions about food, drinks, and payment. When you attend a class, you expect instructions, explanations, and questions. When you speak with a doctor, you expect discussion about symptoms, pain, and health. These expectations help your brain predict. Prediction is not cheating. It is a natural part of listening. Native speakers use it constantly. They do not wait for every sentence to finish before creating meaning. Their brains are always preparing possible ideas. You can strengthen this skill by thinking briefly before listening. What is the topic? Who is speaking? What might they talk about? What emotions may appear? What useful phrases might you hear? These questions activate related language in your memory. Then, when the sound arrives, your decoder is ready. It is easier to recognize something when the brain expects it, but prediction must remain flexible. Do not become so attached to your guess that you ignore what the speaker actually says. Use expectation as a guide, not as a replacement for listening. The goal is to reduce the search area, not to invent the message. Over time, this process becomes automatic too. You hear the beginning of a sentence and your mind prepares possible endings. You hear a change in tone and expect a disagreement or surprise. You hear because and prepare for a reason. You hear but and expect a contrast. These small predictions help you move with the speaker instead of following far behind. That feeling of moving with English is one of the clearest signs that translation is losing control. When you translate, you are usually behind. The speaker says something, you process it, then you try to catch the next sentence. You are always chasing. Direct understanding allows you to stay beside the speaker. The meaning appears while the message is still moving. You can follow changes in the story. You can prepare your response. You can notice details. You feel present. This is what makes conversation enjoyable. You are no longer working only to survive. You can connect. You can laugh. You can become curious. You can listen to someone's experience instead of treating their words like an exercise. Language becomes human again. There may still be moments when translation returns. Do not become angry. A difficult word may trigger it. A complex idea may require more thought. When you are tired, your brain may return to the older path because it feels familiar. This does not mean you lost your progress. Habits do not disappear in a straight line. The old road may still be used sometimes, especially under pressure. Simply return to direct meaning when possible. Picture the scene. Focus on the speaker's purpose. Listen for complete phrases. Let the sentence continue. With practice, the direct road will become stronger. Translation will become a tool instead of a prison. This is an important distinction. Translation itself is not evil. It can help you understand difficult vocabulary, compare meanings, and learn complex ideas. The problem begins when translation becomes the only way you can receive English. A tool should help you when needed. It should not control every moment. A skilled learner can translate when useful and listen directly when communication is moving quickly. You are building that flexibility. During study, you may pause and check meanings. During conversation, you stay with the speaker. You learn to choose the right method for the right situation. That balance is more realistic than trying to ban your first language completely. Be kind to yourself while this balance develops. Many learners create unnecessary pressure by saying, I must never translate again. The moment translation appears, they feel they have failed. This stress can make the habit stronger. Instead, notice translation without fear. Then guide your attention back to meaning. Ask, what is happening? What does the speaker want? What picture do I see? What feeling is present? These questions move you away from word-for-word processing. The transition becomes gentle. Your brain learns better through repeated success than through constant punishment. Create small wins. Listen to a short story and understand the main event. Follow a simple conversation without pausing. Watch a short scene and recognize the emotion. Answer one question immediately. Each win teaches your mind that direct English is possible. Belief grows from experience. You do not need to repeat positive statements while continuing the same ineffective habit. Give your brain evidence. Let it experience direct understanding every day. Even 5 minutes of successful listening can be valuable. A strong routine may look simple. Choose a short piece of clear audio. Listen once for the situation. Do not pause. Listen again and notice the important phrases. Read the text only after you have tried to understand naturally. Check what you missed. Listen again without reading. Repeat a few useful patterns aloud. Then listen one final time and focus only on the meaning. Do not study forever. Move forward after the passage becomes familiar. The next day, review it briefly before starting something new. This combination of repetition and new material keeps your decoder growing. Too much repetition can become boring if the passage has already become completely easy. Too much new material can prevent patterns from becoming automatic. You need both familiarity and challenge. The correct balance depends on your level, but the principle remains the same. Stay with material long enough for sound to become meaning. Then give your brain a new situation to decode. You may notice that after studying a phrase deeply, it suddenly appears everywhere. You hear it in a video. You hear it in a conversation. You notice it in an audiobook. It feels as if the phrase became more common overnight. In reality, your brain became ready to recognize it. The sound was probably present before, but it passed unnoticed. This is how your listening world expands. Every pattern you learn makes more English visible. At first, natural speech may sound like one long line of noise. Then certain words begin standing out. Later, complete phrases appear. Then relationships between ideas become clear. Eventually, you follow the message as a whole. The audio did not change. Your decoder changed. This transformation can feel slow because it happens inside you. There is no physical object to measure. You cannot always see new listening connections being formed, but you can notice their results. A recording feels slower. A speaker seems clearer. A phrase appears before the subtitle. You understand a joke without explanation. You recognize that someone is being sarcastic. You notice a small detail while still following the main idea. These are powerful signs. Keep a simple record of them. Not a record of every mistake, a record of moments when English felt direct. Write down. I understood a full sentence without translating. I followed 1 minute of audio. I recognized a connected phrase. I answered immediately. I understood the emotion before every word. This record reminds you that progress is happening. Without it, your mind may focus only on what remains difficult. Language learning can feel endless because there is always more to learn. Even advanced speakers meet unfamiliar words. Do not measure success by reaching the end of English. There is no end. Measure success by increasing freedom. Can you understand more than before? Can you remain calm for longer? Can you connect with more people? Can you enjoy more content? Can you express more of yourself? That is real progress. The day English enters without translation is not one single day. It is a series of days. The first day one phrase enters directly. The first day a complete sentence enters directly. The first day you follow a short story. The first day you answer without preparing. The first day you forget that you are listening to English. Each moment is another door opening. Eventually, direct understanding becomes your normal experience for familiar language. You may not notice exactly when the change became permanent. You will simply realize that you no longer do what you once did. You no longer translate every question. You no longer panic after missing one word. You no longer need subtitles for simple material. You no longer feel that natural speech is always too fast. The old struggle begins to feel distant. This is how many deep changes happen. They are built through small repetitions until the new behavior feels natural. One day you look back and see that you have crossed a distance you could not see while walking. The process may feel slow while you are inside it, but every clear listening session is moving you forward. Every phrase you repeat is becoming more familiar. Every moment of calm is teaching your brain to stay open. Every time you choose meaning over translation, the silent decoder becomes stronger. Do not wait for confidence before practicing. Practice creates confidence. Do not wait until you know every word. Listening teaches you how words behave in real speech. Do not wait until fast English feels comfortable. Comfort arrives after repeated contact. Do not wait for the perfect method. Use a simple method consistently. Consistency is more powerful than constantly changing your routine. A new method may feel exciting, but your brain needs repetition, not endless beginnings. Choose useful audio. Listen actively. Review patterns. Repeat aloud. Connect sound to meaning. Return tomorrow. This may not feel dramatic, but it works because the brain learns through frequency. One powerful session cannot replace many regular sessions. You cannot force automatic understanding in a single day, but you can feed it every day until it becomes unavoidable. Think of water filling a container drop by drop. For a long time, the container appears incomplete. Then one final drop makes the water reach the top. That last drop did not do all the work. Every earlier drop prepared the result. The moment you understand a difficult sentence directly may feel sudden, but it was built by all the listening that came before it. Respect the invisible work. Your brain may be learning even when you feel nothing. It may be sorting sounds, strengthening patterns, reducing the need for translation, building faster paths. Give it enough time. Give it enough examples. Give it enough rest. Rest also matters. A tired brain may struggle to process fast language. Sleep helps memory become stronger. Do not believe that studying more is always better. Focused practice followed by rest can be more useful than hours of frustrated listening. Protect your attention. When you practice, practice fully. When you rest, rest without guilt. Learning is not only what happens while the audio is playing. The brain continues organizing information afterward. You may return to the same passage the next day and find it surprisingly easier. That is not an accident. The sound has become more familiar. Your mind has had time to strengthen it. You should also avoid comparing your listening journey too harshly with someone else's. Another learner may understand faster because they began earlier, had more exposure, studied a related language, or live around English speakers. Their progress does not prove that you are slow. Your brain is building from your own starting point. Compare yourself with your earlier self. A month ago, what could you understand? 6 months ago, how did natural speech feel? What phrases once sounded impossible but now feel normal? This comparison gives you an honest picture. You are not competing to become someone else. You are training your own decoder. Your journey may include difficult accents, limited study time, fear of speaking, or years of translation-based learning. These challenges are real, but they do not make change impossible. The brain remains capable of creating new habits. Even if you translated for many years, you can begin building direct connections now. The old habit may be strong, but the new habit grows every time you use it. Age does not remove this ability. Adults may not learn exactly like children, but adults have advantages. You understand situations. You know how to notice patterns. You can choose materials carefully. You can practice with intention. You can connect new language to a lifetime of knowledge. Use these strengths. Do not tell yourself that direct understanding is only for children or people with special talent. It is the natural result of meaningful exposure and repeated recognition. Some people may reach it faster, but the process belongs to everyone who trains consistently. Your first direct moments may happen with very simple English. Then they expand. Simple conversations become easy. Then stories. Then interviews. Then longer audiobooks. Then unfamiliar speakers. The growth continues layer by layer. Do not jump over layers because you want to appear advanced. A layer that is skipped often becomes a weakness later. Build deeply. Let common English become effortless. Let your ear become comfortable with rhythm. Let patterns become familiar. Then harder content will have something strong to stand on. Eventually, you will listen to an English audiobook and stop counting the words you understand. You will follow the journey. You will become curious about what happens next. A character will make a decision and you will feel surprised. An idea will challenge you and you will pause to think about the idea, not the language. This is a beautiful turning point. English becomes transparent. You look through it instead of looking at it. Imagine a clean window. You do not spend all your time studying the glass. You look through it and see the world outside. At the beginning, English may feel like thick glass covered in marks. You focus on every problem. You notice every unclear sound. But training slowly cleans the window. One day you stop noticing the glass. You see the story, the person, the idea, and the emotion. That is what fluent understanding gives you. The language remains present, but it no longer blocks the message. You can enter new worlds through it. You can hear experiences from people you may never meet. You can learn from books, talks, and conversations. You can understand humor, wisdom, pain, and hope. English becomes more than a subject. It becomes access. But remember that this access is built through ordinary practice. The final result may feel powerful, but the daily actions are simple. Listen, notice, repeat, understand, return. There is no need to make the process mysterious. Your brain learns what it experiences often. Give it clear English often. Give it patterns in context. Give it the chance to understand without translation. Do not interrupt every sentence. Do not demand perfection. Do not run away when speech becomes slightly difficult. Stay. Let the message continue. Your decoder cannot learn from English. You always stop before it finishes. Sometimes you need to hear the complete thought before the first part becomes clear. Meaning often arrives late. A word at the end may explain the beginning. A second sentence may clarify the first. A story may reveal its purpose only after several lines. Patience is part of listening. Do not decide too quickly that you understand nothing. Wait. Collect clues. Let the full picture form. The strongest listeners are not always the people who hear every sound. They are often the people who remain connected long enough for meaning to appear. Train this ability. When something is unclear, keep moving. When a phrase is unfamiliar, notice it and continue. When the topic changes, adjust. When you become lost, search for the next clear point instead of mentally returning to the beginning. Conversation does not move backward for your fear. You must learn to rejoin it. This recovery skill is essential. Even strong listeners sometimes lose the message. The difference is that they do not remain lost. They catch a familiar word. They notice a new idea. They use the speaker's tone. They return to the conversation. You can practice this deliberately. Play a recording without pausing. If you lose one sentence, do not stop. Wait for the next sentence you understand. Notice how quickly you can reconnect. At first, you may stay lost for a long time. Later, you return after a few seconds. This is progress. Fluent listening is not never falling behind. It is learning how to return. The more you trust this ability, the less afraid you become. Fear loses power because one missed section no longer means the entire conversation is gone. You know another clear point will come. You remain open. Your decoder continues searching quietly. This calm attention is the environment where direct understanding grows. One day, someone will speak to you in English, and you will respond before the old translation system wakes up. You may not notice it immediately. The conversation will continue. Then later, perhaps while remembering the moment, you will realize what happened. The English entered. The meaning appeared. You answered. There was no middle step. That moment will not be the end of your learning, but it will be proof. Proof that your brain can change. Proof that fast English can become familiar. Proof that translation is not your permanent condition. Proof that the silent decoder is real because you built it through your own practice. From that moment forward, your goal will not be to create direct understanding from nothing. Your goal will be to expand it. More phrases, more speakers, more topics, more situations, more confidence. The path will continue, but now you will know where it leads. Do not chase the final moment so aggressively that you ignore the training needed to create it. Automatic understanding is like sleep. The harder you command yourself to sleep, the more difficult it may become. You prepare the conditions. You make the room quiet. You lie down. You allow sleep to arrive. Direct understanding works in a similar way. You prepare through listening. You repeat useful patterns. You reduce translation. You connect sounds to life. Then you allow automaticity to develop. You cannot force meaning to become instant through tension. You can only train the system until instant meaning becomes natural. So listen without fear. Use English that you can mostly understand. Let pictures appear. Let emotions guide you. Let context support you. Let missed words pass. Let complete patterns become familiar. Speak simple English to yourself. Return every day. Your progress may be quiet, but quiet progress can create a powerful change. The translation voice will not disappear through one battle. It will become weaker because it is needed less often. Direct meaning will become stronger because you use it more often. Eventually, the balance will change. English will enter first. Translation may arrive later or not at all. And when that happens, listening will no longer feel like carrying a heavy machine inside your head. It will feel lighter. You will hear. You will understand. You will respond. The process will become so natural that you may forget how difficult it once felt. That is the final secret of the Silent Decoder Method. You do not defeat fast English by forcing your mind to work harder. You understand it by training your brain to work more quietly. You stop separating every word. You stop translating every sound. You stop returning to what you missed. You begin receiving patterns. You begin predicting meaning. You begin trusting context. You begin following the speaker instead of chasing the sentence. Then slowly English stops standing outside your mind. It enters, not as a school subject, not as a translation exercise, not as a collection of grammar rules. It enters as meaning. It enters as thought. It enters as emotion. It enters as a living voice you can finally understand. And on that day, you will not need anyone to tell you that your listening has changed. You will feel the difference in the silence of your own mind. The speaker will be talking. The meaning will be arriving. But the translator inside you will no longer be speaking. For the first time, English itself will be enough. The day English enters without translation, one day English will stop feeling like something you must solve. You will hear a sentence and the meaning will appear immediately. You will not translate every word. You will not repeat the sentence inside your head. You will simply understand. At first, it may happen with one familiar phrase, then a complete sentence. Later, you may follow an entire conversation without noticing that your first language never entered your mind. This change will not happen because English suddenly becomes slower. It will happen because your brain becomes faster. Every short audio you repeat, every phrase you learn as one pattern, and every moment you continue listening after missing a word strengthens your silent decoder. Do not wait for perfect understanding. Listen for the main idea. Trust the situation. Let unclear words pass. Allow English sounds to create pictures, feelings, and meaning directly inside your mind. Then one day someone will speak to you and you will answer immediately. Only afterward will you realize the truth. You did not translate. You understood. That is the moment English stops being a subject you study and becomes a language living naturally inside you.